Part 6, flash photography. Now listen, if you missed part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, check them out. And there's a few more parts after this, so check these out. But all the different sections here on my class here on Kelby Training on Basic Digital SLR Photography, they're all divided up. So you can actually look at the whole class at one time or look at the individual parts. So let's talk about flash photography. My goal when I take a flash picture, when I put the flash on my camera, actually I have it off the camera, I use a wireless controller usually and bounce the light off the ceiling. As I said earlier on in this class, my goal is I don't want my flash pictures to look like flash pictures. And what gives away the fact, what shows that it's a flash picture? It's the harsh shadows. So what I try to do all the time is I try to eliminate those harsh shadows by bouncing the light off the ceiling or bouncing it off a wall, if the wall's white or if the ceiling is white. So look at this picture. I just had my flash. I was holding it like this. I had a wireless transmitter on my camera. Really one hand shooting. This camera's relatively light. And my favorite lens, a 24 to 105 millimeter lens. And I was able to just point and shoot, bounce the light off the white ceiling. You can't see any shadows in this picture. So simply by bouncing the light off the ceiling, you get a much more natural looking shot because you're increasing the size of the light source. Here, if you're doing direct flash, this is the size of your light source. When you bounce it off the ceiling, that becomes your light source. Now, look at this picture. You might think, oh, Rick has a wrong picture here. He's talking about daylight fill and flash. Doesn't look like a flash picture at all. Well, that's because, as I said, I don't want my flash pictures to look like flash pictures indoors and out. So this is called daylight fill and flash photography. And what I did is I balanced the light from the flash exactly to the available light. And here's how I do it. The first step is you want to set your camera on manual. And then you set the exposure for the scene manually. Adjust your f-stop and your shutter speed. You want to turn off your flash. Step number 3, you want to set your variable flash to, and you really need a flash with variable flash output control, which lets you increase and decrease the flash. Some digital SLRs let you do this in camera, like my 1DS Mark III here, and actually the Canon Digital Rebel lets you do that too. But you want to be able to control the output of the flash. Now, I say, or I recommend, starting at -1 2/3, because when you do that, all the light from the flash isn't coming out and blasting the heck out of the subject. So you're just giving out a little bit of light. This is why it's called, by the way, fill-in flash photography, daylight fill-in flash photography, because you're just really filling in the shadows. Okay, then if the subject is too dark, what you want to do is you want to increase the exposure. As you can see here in my little guidelines here, if it's too light, you want to decrease the exposure. But the idea is to fill in the shadows and not blast the subject with light. Here's another example of daylight fill and flash. I was over at the Rock of Gibraltar. Look at the monkey on the left. You can clearly see his face because this is daylight fill and flash photography. In the picture on the right, can't see whether the monkey has his eyes opened or closed. So, bright sunlight, this is when you want to use daylight fill and flash, and when the subject is backlit. Here I have a picture or two pictures of my son, Marco. He's slightly backlit. Picture on the left is a daylight fill and flash shot where I balance the light from the flash exactly to the available light so it doesn't look like a flash picture. In the other picture, look, can't even tell it's Marco. So I never leave home without a flash. Now, how you hold your flash, if you do have it on the camera and don't have a wireless controller like this, what happens is you get harsh shadows. Look at these two pictures. What's going on here is I'm taking a picture of Marco. I'm holding my camera and flash exactly the same way as he's holding it. So if you just put your camera, if you have your camera and put your flash right on the camera like this, as you can see in this picture, right on the camera, take a horizontal shot, you're going to get a harsh shadow behind the subject if the subject's close to the wall. If you hold it vertically, you're going to get a shadow off to the side. Here's another shot. Look at this, no shadows at all, because for the horizontal shot and the vertical shot, Marco is bouncing the light off the white ceiling. So let me go back to the harsh shot. That's direct flash, and this is bounced flash. Which one would you like? Well, I'm sure. So think about that bounce flash photography. Well, that's the end of part 6. I'll catch you in the next part.